All right, here we are, the Advisory Committee on Sustainability. It is June 9th, a few minutes after 12 p.m. Meeting held virtually via the town's GoToMeeting platform, as indicated in the agenda and posted with the town clerk. First item on the agenda is I've really got my radio voice on today. I'm trying to impress Jim. The first item on the agenda is approval of the past minutes.
So
Carolyn has sent me several comments, which I will incorporate as I redraft them. The first one is that the first selectman of Bethel, Mr. Knickerbocker, was also in attendance. And I need to correct the spelling of city carting. And then the third thing is a name, the wording around the swap shop will be: a name change to the facility may be considered to dispel a mistaken notion by some that in order to take something, you must first drop something off. No actual swap, in quotes, of items is required. So those adjustments will be made, as well as any others people have.
I thought Citibank was getting into the trash management business.
Yeah, Cliff, that third comment that I made might be a little bit wordy, but just you get the gist of what I was going for.
I like the reading of it.
All good.
Okay.
And it's still a good point.
If there aren't any further comments, then I'm going to take it, Carolyn, you're the only one who read them.
I read them when they come in, and then I forget about them by the time the emails run.
I'm abstaining from this.
I'm good. I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? That's 3, 1 abstention.
Yep.
Minutes are finalized. All right. Ed Gentile's coming in. How is Mr. Gentile doing today? Comfortably seated in your office chair, I see.
Yeah, I made it in.
Okay. You feeling all right?
Yeah, it's better than last week.
Okay. Would you throw out your back, or you strained your back or something? Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Those are the worst.
Had the opportunity to see myself walking in a mirror, and I looked like my father. He was 80 years old.
Yeah.
I can kind of imagine the walk. All right, we're at item 2 on our agenda, which is communication with like organizations. Anything to report? A lot of action in Hartford. I got some of that under recycling.
Okay. Second.
Anything from the DEG? We don't have to say anything if there's nothing.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to. I had to turn the volume up. I had to turn the AC off in my room here.
It's okay.
I attended the last Green Team meeting, but I think most of the discussion centered around marching and plans to march in the parade. So I don't really have anything to report.
Nothing too exciting. All right. Item 3, which is really under Christine and Kathy's guidance, is Board of Ed outreach. So given that they are not here, I will skip that one unless someone has something to say about it. All right, we find ourselves at item 4, which is recycling, food scrap update, shredding day update. Anything on those at this point?
The only thing I have to report on the food scrap update is, just that our numbers are very stable in terms of the tonnage that we're collecting. We're collecting about 3.5 tons a month, and it has been that way basically since February. It was a little bit higher in November, December, and January, and then it sort of went down, and it's been staying there pretty much for the last couple of months. I did have a meeting with the the high school student from the Eco Citizens Club who's interested in, she started a compost pile at the school and she's now interested in being able to divert all food scraps. So I had a Zoom meeting with her last week or the week before, and I just kind of gave her some pointers on like the next step, you know, in terms of, you know, meeting with like the Board of Education facilities director and trying to understand, you know, like how their trash collection works to see if it would make sense for them to do this. So she was going to go back to the Eco Citizens teacher advisor and, you know, kind of flush out what the next steps are. And I also told her that I would send her some information on just some like statistics on trash in the state of Connecticut. So I'll be doing that.
Okay, that sounds good. And really, is shredding day in Kate's hands now at this point? We just, once they decide when it is, we'll help coordinate PR.
Yeah, I sent the vendor information to Jamie and Kate, and I haven't heard anything back since then. Whether it's going to just be for town hall, you know, employees, because my understanding is there's a lot of documents that need to be shredded, you know, municipal documents, and whether it's going to be combined with something for residents or not, I haven't heard anything further on that.
Got it. We know that the deposit bill cleared the legislative branch. I haven't heard whether or not it's been signed by Governor Lamont yet. And that will seek to increase the deposit on single-use beverage containers to 10 cents from 5 cents over time, and also have that deposit apply to a much wider array of containers like water and tea and things like that. So that's generally a good thing. That's something we supported. We're happy to see that result. That's all I have to say about that. Any further comment under recycling from anybody?
Well, Carolyn, you had mentioned that we are low on the compost kits.
Well,
Is that something?
it depends. Low is a relative term. It depends on, you know, like if we wanted to go out and do events where we push them, then I would, you know, say that, you know, our stock is relatively low. But if we just kind of, you know, like not do any extra advertising and, you know, just sort of passively as people learn about the program and come in to purchase a kit, we're probably good for a while. So it just depends.
What is the order turnaround? What was it before? Is it like a month to get them? I feel like it took a while, right? Because they're from Canada or something.
There was a delay on getting the larger bins last time because they actually were being imported from the UK, and so that was the delay the last time. My understanding is that as of, you know, 6 weeks ago, they had plenty of stock, so it would be, you know, probably like a 2-week turnaround at this point. They come from a distributor in Canada. And the same with the smaller countertop containers. Those are not usually a problem, and the bags are generally not a problem. So that was the holdup the last time.
Got it. Thank you. So, I mean, at like sort of when we have a dozen left, is that what we're like? Is that our trigger to reorder? Do we have?
Sorry, you talking to me?
Yeah, or anyone, I don't know. Is it you that's ordering them? It goes through your budget line, right?
It does, but normally Carolyn and I will discuss it when she starts to see it starting to get a little bit low, and so we're looking at the trends of how they've been selling. We've been re-up, so we've done it twice now, right, Carolyn?
Yes. Yeah, the
And,
last time was 2019, late spring. So right about this time, 2 years ago.
I think what we should do, because we're going to get an infusion of money on July 1st, maybe Carolyn, you and I in July, we should maybe let's look about putting an order in and see if we could save money by ordering more, or if we're not going to sell 200 of them, maybe we take a hit on the unit cost. I don't know, but we should talk about that as soon as I get the money refused in July 1st.
We could, I don't know if it's possible to do this, but we could also, because so many other, with the last time that we put an order in, we were the only town in this area that had a program like this. Now so many other towns do. I don't know if it's possible to, coordinate ordering with some of, the other towns that use these same kits, and therefore being able to get a more favorable price per unit, and then kind of like, splitting the cost with one of the other towns. I mean, that's something that we can investigate as well.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so I can get some information on who uses the same kits, and we would have to work out the financials of who puts the money out and reimbursement and all of that, but you and I can talk about that offline.
Okay.
Sounds good. So I think we're done with item 4. Christy, any progress on 3, or should we push that to the next agenda? Or to that outreach? Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, so we're missing Mr. Dulcetti on the swap shop, but I think, where did we end up on the book bin? Is that proceeding? We make a decision?
I didn't get anything back from Dan on that, nor have I had a strong discussion on that. I thought we were moving forward with something over there, but nothing was firmed up.
The consensus was that it sounded like a good idea, but I think it was, where is it going to be placed and what is the quality of its construction? If it's a metal thing like the clothes stuff and it can just get lined up outside, that's easy. If it needs to be inside, then we're sacrificing some interior space. So maybe we can push that. Where did that come through? Did that come through you, or did that come through Dan initially?
I gave him some information. He had some other company also,
Yeah.
So we are kind of talking about it together. But unfortunately, Dan and I keep missing each other on other things too. This being one of them.
So since you're on the call and he's not, you're now the responsible party to follow up.
I'm writing that down right now and putting my initials by that. So yeah, I'll check in with him and I'll dig back into my record to see which company I had looked into it, because I think they contacted me about putting something there.
Okay, that sounds good. Energy, any other comments on the swap shop from those folks that are here? I didn't see any circulating name ideas for the swap shop, the take it or leave it shop.
I don't like that one.
Yeah.
I got just one thing about the shop, Craig. That's why I was hoping Dan would be here, but I'll have to reach out to him later today. I'm getting a couple calls from my guys. What's happened, and they sent me a couple pictures. Luckily, while I was away, so I could see this. There are some individuals that are actually going over into the C&D area and pulling stuff out of there or off the vehicles and bringing it over to the swap shop. I can't have that happen. I have a big vehicle over there all the time, and they've been walking behind the vehicles. I'm just afraid someone's going to get hurt. So I just need Dan to kind of refresh in these people's minds areas where they can and cannot go. I'm sorry if there's a nice bicycle that may come off there and end up in the trash, but I just can't put those folks in harm's way. And I really prefer if they'd stay out of those areas. And that's kind of me asking nicely. I will talk to Dan about that. I just thought I'd bring that to your attention.
Yeah, you're responsible for safety of the whole site. We've allocated a certain corner of it to the swap shop, and it should stay there to keep everybody safe.
Ed, are these volunteers who are doing this, or are these, is this just the general public who happens to be visiting the swap shop?
It just so happened it was volunteers. One had the vest on, the other one didn't, so I could tell that where they were, and then there were photos that showed me walking back to the swap shop. So I recognized one of the individuals. So I mean to take that up. And like I said, I wanted Dan here. I know he takes the brunt of all the complaints, but you know, you got to take it with the good and the bad. This just happens to be things that he needs to stay on top of over there with the volunteers as more of the volunteers or new volunteers come on board.
Okay. Item 6, relating to energy, keeping these things on the agenda just to make sure they're not forgotten, which is the consideration of a second solar array on Town Hall on the Senior Center side.
Yep.
Any progress, or is that still just?
I did. I opened up the discussion with our buddy, and to kind of piggyback on this, the gentleman that I started talking to is the same gentleman that I'm working with to do a LED replacement project in the Mather Center. We just got our approval from Eversource 2 weeks ago on an incentive program. The project priced out at about 37 grand. We got $15,000 in incentives, so almost 40% of the project. I just finished signing up today with Eversource and with the lighting company to do the same guy that did our solar. So that's a good project that we're looking forward to get started. Wasn't sure when the incentives were coming in, but like I said, we just got everything signed off and hopefully have that project finished by mid-September.
And did you ever put together an analysis of how the rooftop performed at Town Hall, the existing one, and what we think maybe our savings or performance was?
We are just hitting 1 year when all of the solar arrays are up and running all at the same time for a full year. So as part of what I need to do, I think Jamie has asked me to look into that too. So I'm going to be meeting and presenting to the Board of Selectmen sometime later in the year to give an update on the solar stuff. But I finally have now the full system operational for a full year. So I'll be able to see how that has responded to our weather conditions. And lately, because of the lack of clouds and the abundance of sun, we've been buying a lot of the solar instead of buying it from Eversource, buying it from our vendor at a lower price.
Yeah, right. And then any progress on your look into EVs for town vehicles or an EV charging station?
I had a meeting yesterday, Westcog meeting yesterday that's the 18 other towns here in Western Connecticut. There was a proposal, a grant that we were trying to get that had to do with purchasing of electric vehicles and electric stations. The DOT first refused to consider this as because of the way the purchasing was, as a viable grant. The federal government said it was. Now the DOT went back and said it wasn't. So right now, as of now, the project for grant applications and grant funding for EVs is on hold, as it's not being funded through that grant process. There may be other grants coming out, and I'm kind of keeping my ear to the ground through Westcog to see if there's anything else there that we can piggyback on now with other towns to possibly put that out there.
So you have kind of a package that was put together to submit to DOT. And what was the value that we were looking for in terms of the grant?
The different town, I didn't get to see theirs, and I didn't put one in.
Oh, okay.
But other towns had, and I was waiting to see if they were going to approve it, and unfortunately, they didn't.
Got it.
But you know, anywhere from a couple charging stations and 3 vehicles to larger cities were acting for a little bit more. But I didn't have the values for those, Craig.
Got it. Because yeah, I mean, there's still some funding opportunities through the Sustainable CT Community Matching Fund, and might be other places than the state to go to for this sort of thing if we had something specific to work off of.
That was funny because on the phone call yesterday, there were the folks from Sustainable CT, the Yukon students, what did we have last year? I'm drawing
Yeah, they're called fellows.
Fellows.
Yeah.
fellows.
Yeah.
There were a couple of them that had joined the call through WestCog. I guess WestCog is usually going to do some work with them too on sustainability.
Yeah, it's that time of year, that internship time of year.
Yes, it is.
All right, anything else under energy? Moving to marketing outreach and education. Do we have anything planned? I don't know. We usually have something planned by the way of like letters to the editor or articles, but we're got nothing to talk about right now.
I just did an article for Dairy and Neighbor magazine that will appear in the July issue on water conservation.
Cool. Awesome.
So
You'll have to forward a copy of it when you
I
get it.
will. Yeah, usually I get the PDF, you know, like a couple weeks before it goes to print, so I can send it to you. I can circulate it then. Just keep in mind, there's a word limit of less than 500 words, so it's not a very, they're never very in-depth articles, but they're enough to kind of, you know, whet people's appetite if they want to get more information.
And continue to challenge the author's ability to provide lots of information in 500 words.
Yeah.
All right.
Please call.
So that puts us to
15108
the sustainable CT part. I again included on the email the short list, the action overview worksheet with at least some of my notes on it based on our past conversations. I try to put in the ACS member kind of responsible for keeping track and following up. I'm trying to keep track of those action items that we're interested in pursuing versus the ones we're not interested in pursuing, and trying to identify partners either in the town administrative system or outside of the town administrative system on each of the items. So everybody got that? Does anybody have anything to say about it?
I guess you know, in the areas that I'm excited about sort of pursuing with the town, are we ready to talk to people about it, even, you know, at this point, or is it more that we're sort of assessing?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, are you comfortable with us reaching out to people now and saying, you know, over the course of the next 9 months, we need this information? I guess that was where I was a little unclear of, you know, is it outreach time, you know, now, or is it something that starts in September?
I would say it is, and, you know, just be open and honest with everybody. And that's what I've done in my first few conversations, which is, you know, usually by early May, if I recall, they want our kind of draft application together, because that's when they get the fellows that can then take our draft application and really help us refine it and detail it over the summer. And then the applications are usually due, I think, late August, early September. I'm doing this from memory. So, you know, if 11 months from now, we want to have a draft application together, you know, our partners and the people that we're asking for information, you know, depending on the particular item, right? If it's just documenting something that exists, that's one thing. But if it requires some action or doing some action in a slightly tweaked way over the next 12 months, we want them to know now, and we want them to be engaged now. So I think this is a good time to reach out. And it takes a while. It takes a while.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
we don't want to procrastinate because then we won't get it done.
Yeah, and for me, the groups I was looking at, I was just sort of waiting for the end of the semester school year, thinking that when they had a little more capacity to give me, you know, when the nature center's done before they start their summer program, and like the art performances, I sort of looked into all of it and was like, you know, they're in the middle of everything right now. So that's why I wanted to see if it felt like a tight timeline, or if it felt like we could manage starting in July with these people so that they could get through their.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, it depends on the particular item and what has to get done, but I think as appropriate, I'd start talking to folks. I have as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your insight.
Anyone else on their items? Any questions about their items? Any additional items they want to sign up for?
Did everybody receive, as I did, a notice from Sustainable CT that our what is it? Bronze, I guess, is expiring at the end of next year, and that if we, they're basically encouraging us to start another application.
Yep, it was well timed to this conversation. Basically saying you should start now if you think you're going to extend your certification.
I'm not on those emails.
Yeah, it was so eventually, and maybe sooner than later. So what we ended up doing, you can get registered to get on the website so that you can actually upload pieces of the application as we go. And so you'll give your email at that time to be registered. Then they'll have it forever and email you.
Forever. Yay.
Yeah. And Kathy kind of managed that for us last time, which we'll talk to her when we talk to her. Yeah, I don't know that I have too much more to report on those areas. I'm just kind of looking at ones that my name is next to, see if it reminds me of anything.
Craig, can I ask you something? Can you just remind us who, if we need to talk to someone about putting something on the town website, who do we contact?
I usually go through Linda O'Leary.
Yeah, Linda, but I'm happy to help you, Carolyn,
Okay. Because I mean, just as an example, like under 3.6, the water conservation area. So for example, I tried to go through a couple of different layers to try to find out like what the town does to try to encourage people to conserve water, what's on the town website. And there's nothing that, that strikes you when you first go to the town website. So, but there are things that seem to be layered throughout the town website, but how do you easily access them? For example, if you type water conservation into the search engine, hundreds of things come up, but how do you find those just as a person going to the town website? Or do we not worry about that and just assume that if you can type that term into the search engine and things come up, is that sufficient?
Yeah, and I think that's been our question about the town website for a little while now, right? Is how do we create an area where all of those kind of related things are findable in an intuitive way?
They should be on our page, though, shouldn't they? Like if someone goes to the advisory, well, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, they should be perhaps cross-referenced on our page and elsewhere. But if nothing else, if someone types in like sustainability committee and our page shows up, there should be all kinds of links there on related things like water conservation and energy savings and things like that, whether or not they're somewhere else on the town website.
Part of the limitation is the architecture of the website in general, right? So when you're given a page, it's very list oriented.
Yes.
Right? You can load a bunch of things up. They might even help you menu a little bit of it, but it's basically like put the file here, put the link here, put the file here. And that, if I can see that getting like diminishing returns, right? If you just look a long list, you're still not going to find what you're looking for. So, you know, how do you design it in a way, again, that is a better user interface, and how deep is that hole, and is it going to cost money?
Right, but I mean, like, for example, if we're asking for 10 points on our sustainable CT application to show that we encourage, that we make residents aware of what the town's, you know, water conservation policy is, people should be able to go to the town website and see what that is.
Yeah. How do you get that information out? How do you make it clear that you are actively advertising, promoting, providing information on something? That's the question.
Yes.
It's a good question. And then what will Sustainable CT accept as we've made the effort, right? You know, last time we did provide links to our website and, you know, copies of pages from our website. I know that Jamie's always offered the
Brian, please call 15108 Brian.
Town's Twitter handle to get stuff out if we need to and they find it appropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also, I would think, Carolyn, that we could be posting about this on our Facebook page and
I do.
using that.
I do. Yeah, I absolutely do that. But what I'm thinking is that, like, and this came up in a previous meeting. I don't remember who suggested it, but you know, we currently do have bronze certification, and that should be, maybe that when you go to darien.ct.gov, maybe that should be, there should be a link for that, like at the bottom of the page.
It is actually.
Click on that, and then all of this other stuff will come up.
Well, I did get our bronze thing put out on the main page, and it does hyperlinks to our page. If you pull it up, it's at the bottom next to the bicentennial.
Oh.
Yeah, it is at the bottom, and you click through.
Yeah,
and then you're on the.
I just shrunk down their logo and had it hyperlinked to our page. I think. Yeah.
Okay, so then if you
From
click
the main
on
page.
that, it takes the viewer to our,
right.
Okay.
And so if there's things that we need to add regarding water conservation, I'm happy to put them on. If you want to send me, like, even your article or something, if you find some information, we can certainly build on our page.
Yeah, I mean, they're specific in what they will give credit for, so we should try to meet those criteria, and then we can put those on the page. So I'll be contacting you, Pam.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's happy.
So my concern is, as we add, you know, right now there's maybe eight things listed on our page, you know, documents or whatnot. You know, if that grows to 30 or 40, or, you know, everything's going to get lost again. And
but it also could be, Craig, that I do more of these like little logos where it's more visual, and rather than text heavy. I could see if I could just create little, you know, like a water droplet, and, you know, upload it. I can quickly do a quick graphic, and, you know, that it's more visually, you know, palatable and easy to maneuver through. I think I could probably do that pretty easily.
Okay. So we see what we end up with in terms of information we think ought to be up there. I always had in the back of my head, whether it's a good idea or not, was like, you know, do we kind of use the sustainable CT categories as, you know, the umbrella categories, and they each have kind of an image. You know, there's an image for inclusive and equitable community impact, and there's, you know, and then you click through those and you have a list.
Right. Why don't we put there, with those 8 documents, one more that is like an index of sustainability projects in Darien, or something of that sort, index of ecological programs in Darien or something, and that you open that document, and then you see water conservation and a whole bunch of links, and you see food scraps maybe, and a link, and so that index could then be the focal point that could get you where you want to go. Okay, it's just an idea.
Yeah, no, I mean, all ideas are good ideas, but I think it's also the content, right? It starts with the content, and then we can figure out how to display the content.
Yeah, I just, I think as least text heavy as possible, it's probably best and more user friendly.
Yes.
Anything else, folks, before we get out of
One
class early today?
question. Did anyone have any ideas for for projects that they would like to apply for that grant that I forwarded around? The
That
deadline
was-
is June 30th, so time is of the essence.
Where did I put that? Here it is, grant opportunity. Lee Sawyer grant info. So this is the same entity. We got the grant to kick off the food scrap program. Yes?
No,
Oh,
it's
not.
different. Yeah.
Oh, it is different. Okay.
Yeah, it's in conjunction with Recycle CT, but it's sort of a dedicated grant that was set up by the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection to honor one of their someone who passed away recently, who was extremely dedicated and at whose urging Sustainable CT was Recycle CT was actually set up. So the Recycle CT grants are still available and separate from this grant is what I'm getting at.
Got it. Proposals that request grant funding to help initiate or expand public waste reduction or recycling/diversion programs in the state of Connecticut. Reduce or eliminate solid waste at its source, promote sustainable reuse of existing materials, promote recycling of materials not currently being captured, or increase diversion of Connecticut's mandatory and non-mandatory recyclables and organics from incineration or landfill. Everything we've been doing for the last 8 years.
I mean, would this be something that like the shredding, if that we could offset the cost of the shredding day or something along those lines? That's sort of already in the works.
I mean, I can't answer that. Possibly. I think it's more for something new that, well, we haven't had a shredding event before, so that would be new. But like, let's say we wanted to, let's say a town currently doesn't have a food scrap recycling program and they wanted to set one up. That's what this would, and the grants, my recollection is the amounts are like
1,000 to 15,000.
15,000, right? So,
Can you use it for an expansion of an existing program?
I think you could.
We've set a target to try to double the food scrap this year. Maybe if we didn't have to pay for all these kits, if we could sell them for, I don't know, $5 a piece or even give them away, we'd get a lot more people to do it. And the grant might pay for that, those kits.
Interesting, yeah.
You could try that.
And then what about Craig, now that summer is upon us, I keep thinking about the camping propane things again, something along those lines. I mean, although we haven't really figured out what to do with them, right? So there's no.
Yeah, I haven't heard any information about the bill that was supposedly under consideration in committee. Yeah, go ahead.
I can tell you about it. So that's House Bill 6386, and that was extended producer responsibility for, among other things, propane tanks. It also includes tires and smoke detectors, because though we collect smoke detectors in Darien, I think we certainly were the first, and I believe we currently are the only municipality in the state that does so. Most people throw them in the trash, and they shouldn't do that if they're the ionization type of smoke detector because of the radioactive content. So here's where it is. The legislature is about to end. This bill is on the House calendar, but it hasn't been called for a vote. It needs to be called for a vote by the House, and then it needs to go over to the Senate where it will be voted on. Today or tomorrow, yeah. It's like literally we're down to 36 hours. So though we can't, as a committee, I don't believe we can lobby, but we as individuals certainly could contact Darienne's 4 legislators, the 2 state senators and the 2 state representatives, and urge them to support this bill, House Bill 6386. So I'm doing it, so I hope everyone else will consider doing it, because if it's not called for a vote, it's just going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll be back to square one where, you know, we have all these residents who have these little 1-pound propane canisters, and they have no place, there is no place to properly dispose of or recycle them. And their chances are they're being left in state parks and beaches and that's
thrown away.
Yeah.
Steel, ultimately recyclable steel canisters being thrown in the garbage, which puts everybody that handles that garbage in danger.
Yes. So if it doesn't pass this session, we've got to try again next year. I mean, it will be brought up again next year if it doesn't pass, but it would be nice if it passed this year.
What was the bill again, or the number of the bill?
House Bill HB 6386.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have the exact wording. It's an act concerning extended producer responsibility for certain things.
Wow, this grant PDF is, I mean, they did a really good job because they give you all sorts of ideas.
Yeah, I was thinking it would really be nice to be able to, you know, pick up some.
I mean, part of it is we have done a lot, right? You know, we are doing more than a lot of other communities, and so we've done these things. But you know, class
maybe
separation,
some
space
signage to try to. How about Craig? Some signage, because signage can be expensive. Like I know in Kent, Sharon, I forget the name of the community. It's 2 communities that share one transfer station, and they just built a brand new transfer station. They created some sandwich board signs that they put around town, and they can change them out. Like some of them have to do with reminding people about recycling, and then another of them reminds people that they have a food scrap recycling program. I don't know where they put them exactly, and I'm not sure where we could put them. I mean, certainly we could put one like, or I would imagine that we could put one like outside of town hall as people go in, or one like at the recycling center, just to kind of remind. I mean, so sandwich signs tend to be expensive, so maybe we could do something like that.
I'd be in favor of that.
Promote some of our existing programs.
I'd be in favor of that. But so the other part of this, it's got to get written and submitted in 3 weeks.
Yes.
Yep.
By June 30th.
Mm-hmm. Anything on your plate, Ed?
Which part of the plate?
Yeah. Anything you need money for that has to do with reducing waste?
I can't.
Yeah.
Craig, I wish I had an answer for you. I don't have anything right now that I can think of. I do like the expansion of the food waste stuff, only because, you know, if anything we could do to supplement the town putting out funds and producing or an increase in the number of participants is only going to be a home run for us.
Mm-hmm.
We had, Carolyn's right, we've been stuck at like 3.5 tons per month. I really would like to see us increase that by about 30%. That would get us to the break even. And if there was supplemental funds that was a part of a grant or something like that, that would be even more of a benefit for us. So we're right at the tipping point. We just need a little bit more. And
So maybe the concept is we've launched a food scrap program that has decent participation, but we'd really like to significantly increase that participation. And here's our general plan for doing so. We're going to have signage and advertising and subsidized kits to some amount, and that's the request.
I think that's great. I think that makes a ton of sense.
Did you catch
And I'd
all
be
that,
happy to
Carolyn?
help
You want me
write
to
it.
start over?
Yeah, the only thing about the kits is that the kit, not having a kit is not really a deterrent to not participating in the program, because you don't need a kit to participate. You can use whatever.
I'm using a 5-gallon bucket.
And also, based on what I've learned from other people in other towns, giving the kits to people and not having any like quote unquote buy-in from them.
Yeah.
A lot of people will take a kit and then they just don't use it, and then So what about? I mean,
there's something psychological about I paid for it, I'm going to use it.
Yes,
I can see that.
I mean, I think a better use of the funds would be to either set up like Greenwich, just as I mentioned, set up a satellite collection site for 4 hours every Wednesday at the farmers market in Old Greenwich, for us to either set up a second collection site somewhere that's, I don't know, our recycling center is pretty darn convenient, so I can't say that's more convenient, but maybe just a place where more people travel more regularly.
Different people, we'll see.
Yeah, or
Christine, did you have something?
I do. I'm just curious because I missed the beginning of the meeting. Like, if anybody thought my vending machine idea was really cool, because I thought that was the neatest thing ever.
Oh, get your bags.
You and Caroline, the one that they do in Florida, because I think, honestly, I think that's the biggest problem we have with this program is getting the access to the bags. Because people are lazy and they don't want to go to town hall. And I thought either we do like 4 times a year, we have a big bag promotion and we sit and sell bags somewhere, or just make it easier for people. That's just
my impression on the vending machine was that it was in a town that had a pay-as-you-throw program. So they, people needed to buy bags to put their recycles in to get rid of them. They had to buy bags to get, because there was a charge per bag to use. So they really needed to have, access to the bags in a way to collect money that was efficient. So I know that's what seems a little bit, in my mind, overkill to have such a thing for, just these food scrap bags. But I agree that making it easier for people to get their hands on them, although I, get them on Amazon now too, because I feel lazy and I don't want to get down to town hall.
Well, I know that's what I was doing. I was about to order from Amazon and then I went to town hall and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. We have the best price around. We need to be advertising that. Like, people, save your money, come to us.
Ed, is there any chance that the guy at the gatehouse could sell them?
Cliff, to be honest with you, I do my very best to not have my scale house guy touch any money. Just past practices from other areas, lessons learned, if you will, about money in the hands of satellite offices like that. I just don't like it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Bad things.
What about doing it at the swap shop? I mean, would Dan or somebody be able to control the money?
You can't depend on people being there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Craig, in Greenwich, so Greenwich's program has, well, their food scrap program is supported by like 3 or 4 different sustainability groups. They're all kind of related. And they have a lot of volunteers, and they actually deliver kits and bags if it's a certain number to people who order them, so that, I mean, maybe you could apply for a small grant to pay like a couple high school students to like
drive around and
to make deliveries if people order like, a certain number of bags. Like, we don't want them to do that if somebody orders $1-2 roll of bags, but perhaps if you know, they order 5 or 10 rolls of bags, you know, we could hire someone to deliver them like once a week or so. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm thinking if Christine's right, and that's a major deterrent to people participating in the program, then we need to do something about that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it is or isn't. 2-minute warning here, coming up on 1, and I've got to run to some other things.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it certainly seems like there's a lot of people that use the recycling center. And I don't think we've hit our penetration potential on the people that are there. You know, because you can kind of watch who's throwing stuff away and who's recycling. And, you know, there's a small percentage of them coming over to use the food scrap, right? So there's still penetration potential with the people that are driving down there, that taking care of their own waste. You know, that's the category. You know, beyond edging that potential, it's really, you know, getting to a point where, you know, we think we're, you know, private haulers are able to launch a program that they can drop the stuff off at our transfer station. That's the next, you know, way to really expand access to the program.
Yeah, that would really that would increase our participation considerably based on what I've been told by people. People are like, yeah, if my hauler could pick it up, I would do it, but I'm not gonna drop it off. People people don't want to put it in their car for some reason. I mean, the bins perfectly fit behind your driver's seat of your car. They lock it, you know.
It is a tough time of year after it's been 90 degrees for 3 days and you go to get your food scraps. Woo.
Yeah, June and July and August are the worst months. But
we need to give cards to people at the transfer station. Whenever we go to bring our stuff there, we've got to hand out the little cards. I mean,
yeah.
I anytime I see somebody, do you know about our food scrap program? Boom, now you do.
Yeah, I think you know, if we perhaps we should, not in July or August, but perhaps in September, we should have another couple of weekend days where we go down there and try to push it.
yeah.
Please call 15108.
Which might interrelate with a potential purchase in July with some extra kits.
So then, Craig, maybe a good grant funds would be just to try to you know, like promotion materials to help people to understand how important it is to do this.
So
right, and Caroline, that could be everything from us needing a table and a tent and all of it, you know, to set up.
Is the banner still in good shape? Do the signs?
The banner's good. Yeah, the banner's in good shape. Yeah, I have.
A mailing? Do you do a mailing? You know, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, it is 1 o'clock. But it sounded like maybe between Pam and Carolyn, there's some interest in trying to draft something up for money for the food scrap program.
Yeah, Carolyn, I will have a little bit more capacity after these children are out of school, I think.
When is that, Pam?
Next Wednesday. My son graduates tomorrow, but I think he's still around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Bye-bye elementary school.
Elementary, right? Remember those days?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, yes, there's a lot of events right now. So yeah, they should die down in the next week.
Okay.
So I should have some capacity. I'm happy to block off some time. We can talk offline if we want to sort of parse out who writes what sections, and if we need to do some research about costs for sandwich signs or whatever we're thinking for materials for promotion, or, you know, I think we'd probably look back at what it costs to put together that postcard if we were going to rerun those again. And right,
and we still have plenty of those, actually. Ed, just a quick question: would we be able to put up a sign like in your office? You know, like just like some type of sign that just like says, you know, Darien has a food scrap recycling program, or ask me about Darien's food, you know, something that with all the people that who go through your office, they might see, or maybe it would be better positioned, you know, in the lobby of the town hall. We would have to ask Jamie, you know.
Sorry. When I was there buying bags the other day, like there is no information on the wall for how much the bags cost or how much the kit costs or anything. Like when you walk into the office, so maybe a poster there would be a fantastic idea. Like, you know, 5 bags for $10. Get your kit for $25. Ask us now. You know, just a little excitement. Sorry, Ed.
Do we
But
have
there
the
was no
postcards there?
excitement. I mean, they had to go behind the thing, and they were like, "How much is?" It was just, you know, I just feel like we should be a little free advertising is good.
As much as I am against clutter, because
I
of
know
the
you are.
OCD stuff I got going on, I'm more than happy to work with you on a poster outside there to promote this. It's only going to benefit the town.
Yeah,
I'm more than happy to work with you on it.
okay, good.
I love
All right. It is 1 o'clock. I have to run to other things. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop recording, assuming everybody's comfortable by consensus saying we're adjourning.
Adjourning.
Adjourn.